The anime begins hundreds of years ago when a demon lord named Hubert Dantalion launched an attack on the human king, Solomon, using his illusion magic. However, King Solomon proved to be impervious to Dantalion's tricks and instead trapped the demon in a state of immobility. There, he was astonished by King Solomon's strength and eventually found himself bound to make a contract with Solomon, against his own will. Fast forward to the present day, we meet William Twining, a bright and ambitious student from a prominent English family, attending the prestigious elite academy. William always excels in his studies, consistently achieving top grades. His friend, Isaac Morton, approaches him one day, pointing out that despite his intelligence, William's character is lacking because he doesn't believe in God. So, William was renowned for his scientific beliefs and realistic views, paying no heed to supernatural entities like God, demons, and angels. Therefore, when Isaac chided him for not believing, he remained unaffected. On the other hand, Isaac was a devout believer and prayed ardently for divine intervention to help him pass his exams. But despite his efforts, he still ended up in the bottom third. William, being pragmatic, suggested that Isaac study harder instead of relying on prayers. As the holiday season drew near, William and Isaac took a stroll down the school corridor, discussing their upcoming break. However, soon after, William received an unexpected summons from the headmaster's office. It was then that he learned that his tuition fees had not been paid for months, despite his belief that his uncle had taken care of it. There, he was taken aback by the news and immediately rushed home to investigate. Upon arriving at his grandiose residence, William was surprised to find it desolate and without any servants to greet him. Eventually, a gardener named Cecil Kevin, who doubled as a maid, appeared to meet him. Kevin revealed to him the dreadful news that would shake the foundations of his world. Then Kevin informed William that his uncle, Mr. Barton, had been duped in a fraudulent investment scheme. Since William's parents had passed away, Mr. Barton had taken charge of the family's finances. But he too fell prey to the scam, leading to bankruptcy and the confiscation of all the property in the house. Overwhelmed by stress, Mr. Barton fled, leaving the house without any furnishings or workers. Only Kevin, a faithful butler, remained by William's side without any compensation. Hearing that, William was left in a state of panic and confusion, realizing that without any funds, he would be expelled from school and would end up as a useless vagrant. Suddenly, William stumbled upon a locked room in his confiscated mansion. With the help of his loyal butler Kevin, he broke into the room hoping to find valuable treasures. However, he accidentally cut his finger, causing blood to drip onto a magic circle on the floor. Suddenly, a demon named Dantalion appeared before him claiming that he was a noble devil and one of the Grand Dukes. It was then revealed that William is a descendant of King Solomon, and has been chosen as an elector with the task of selecting a temporary ruler of hell to replace Lucifer. But instead of being convinced by Dantalion's plea to be chosen as the ruler of hell, William saw him as a thief and bound him up in the living room. Then Dantalion explained that Lucifer, the current king of hell, was in a deep slumber and an election for a temporary ruler of hell was imminent. As a descendant of Solomon who has mastery over 72 pillar demons, William had the right to choose the next Grand Duke who would be crowned as the president of hell. Despite Dantalion's explanation, William refused to believe that he wasn't a thief and kicked him out of the house. But as he tried to investigate the secret room again, he suddenly found himself transported to another dimension. To his surprise, he found himself in a grand mansion that belonged to Dantalion. Inside the mansion, William encountered a man with a goat's head who served as Dantalion's assistant. He couldn't believe what he was seeing and thought that it couldn't possibly be real. However, things took a dangerous turn when a male demon named Jill the Ray arrived and caused an explosion that destroyed the mansion. Jill was seeking a fight with Dantalion, but, finding him absent, he abducted William instead. Fortunately, Dantalion appeared just in time to rescue William from Jill's clutches. After ensuring that he was safe, Dantalion engaged in a fierce battle with Jill. Meanwhile, William could only stand frozen in shock next to Baphomet, the goat-headed servant. During the battle, Jill revealed that both he and Dantalion were Nephilim demons who had once lived as humans before turning into demons after they died. However, Baphomet accused Jill of being an accomplice of Duke Phil, who also sought to become the interim president of Hell. At that time, Dantalion lost control and unleashed his immense power, throwing the entire dimension into chaos. William, fearing that he would be trapped there, pleaded with Dantalion to stop the fight. Surprisingly, all of Dantalion's powers suddenly ceased to work. Intrigued by William's strength, Jill decided to leave but promised to return someday. As time passed, William returned to school after the holidays and was surprised to find that his school fees had already been paid. He wondered who could have paid them off. During class, A new student was introduced, who turned out to be none other than Dantalion in human disguise. One night, Isaac attempted to perform a demon summoning ritual in the school forest area. However, someone emerged from the darkness and disrupted the ritual. This person was revealed to be Sri Cartwright, a devil who asked Isaac to take him to meet the elector. The next day, William confronted Dantalion about why he had paid for his school fees. Then Dantalion openly admitted that he wanted William to elect him as the interim president of Hell in exchange for his generosity. Hearing that, William was far from pleased and felt resentful towards Dantalion. He didn't want to be indebted to a devil like Dantalion, and had no interest in getting involved in the politics of Hell. After that, he left Dantalion and rushed to the church to attend Mass. Though he used to be apathetic towards religious rituals, William decided to attend Mass as he felt uneasy with Dantalion following him. At church, he met another student named Swallow Mycroft. After Mass, Pastor Crosby Ernest warned them about the demonic aura emanating from the hostel and advised them to be cautious. He also urged them to report anything suspicious to him. While walking alone in the field, William saw that Dantalion had become popular among the other students due to his athletic prowess. Shortly after, he approached William and reiterated his desire to be elected as the interim president of Hell. However, William refused to get involved with the election. Suddenly, two of his bat minions appeared and informed them about Balbarret's army causing chaos in Hell. At that time, William was in a quandary about how he would pay for the upcoming semester's school fees. He turned to Swallow for advice on scholarships. There, Swallow complimented him for wanting to earn a scholarship even though he came from a wealthy family. However, in his heart, he felt as though he had fallen into poverty. Shortly after, Isaac approached William and introduced him to Sri, the man he had met at the summoning ritual. There, he offered to help William get money from his wealthy uncle, who was looking to support academic geniuses. Hearing that, William was grateful for the offer. Later that night, William spotted Isaac leaving the hostel alone. He decided to follow him secretly and discovered that Isaac was attempting to perform a demon summoning ritual in the forest area. There, William intervened and stopped him, but Isaac explained that he was trying to summon a powerful figure to help William fight the demon he believed was chasing him. Despite the objections, Isaac continued the ritual. Suddenly, instead of a demon or an angel, a giant monster appeared and started chasing them. Fortunately, Sri intervened and saved William and Isaac from the monster that Isaac had inadvertently summoned. However, William was shocked to discover that Sri was actually a devil and a potential candidate for the interim presidency of Hell. There, Sri tried to persuade William to elect him as the president of Hell, but their conversation was cut short by the arrival of Dantalion, who immediately engaged in a heated battle with him. In the midst of the intense fight, Sri belittled Dantalion's status as a Nephilim demon, while Dantalion claimed that Sri was being controlled by the demon Balbarret. Afterward, the two combatants continued to unleash their powers, and William became increasingly agitated by their reckless behavior. Eventually, his anger boiled over and he demanded that they stop fighting. To his surprise, both demons heeded his command, and Sri revealed that he was one of Solomon's minions, and therefore bound to obey his orders. That night, William learned that Sri was once an angel who fell from the sky and became a demon. Sri still had traces of Jibril's blood in his body. Despite the attempt to persuade him to elect Sri as the president of Hell, William refused. After that, he scared Isaac to leave. Then Sri questioned why William, as a descendant of Solomon, was not wearing Solomon's ring, but even Dantalion was clueless. Meanwhile, Kevin discovered a mysterious box left by the William family, which contained the legendary King Solomon's ring. At the church, Pastor Crosby performed a ritual to exorcise a demon that had been haunting the hostel, but he looked exhausted as he revealed that many demons had been roaming the dormitory area lately. Shortly after, a message from the Central English Church arrived, indicating a power struggle for the presidential throne in Hell, which was driving the lower demons in the human world into chaos. The next day, William was even more infuriated by Dantalion and Sri's behavior. They were pretending to be human and still pressuring him to become the leader of Hell. At that moment, he had had enough and decided to seek help from Father Crosby at the church. He was convinced that the priest could perform an exorcism and put an end to his demonic problem. However, he hesitated to tell Father Crosby what was really going on. After some contemplation, William changed his mind about asking for help and left the church. He bumped into Dantalion, who he asked to stop bothering him. William was a descendant of Solomon, and therefore had the power to command Dantalion, who was one of the 72 pillar demons that served Solomon. However, Dantalion warned William that there were other demons out there who were not part of the 72 and who would attack him if given the chance. This left William in a precarious position as he was caught in the middle of a fight for power in hell. Furthermore, he had pledged to serve Solomon forever, so William couldn't expel him from his life. Shortly after, Dantalion probed William, asking if he had any recollection of Solomon's memories. But William only had fleeting glimpses of the past and quickly brushed off the topic. However, chaos erupted that night in the school dorms, with many students claiming to have seen ghosts in the nearby forest. Soon after, William and Isaac quickly rushed to investigate, and they encountered a mysterious figure who attacked them. Fortunately, Stree arrived in time to fight off the figure, revealing it to be a low-level demon, not a ghost. At that time, they chased after the demon, which led them to the church where they encountered Father Crosby. To their surprise, the priest attacked Stree, revealing that he had conspired with a lower demon to lure him there. Suddenly, a battle between the priest and Stree ensued, during which Father Crosby revealed that he was aware of William's status as a descendant of King Solomon and a potential leader of hell. He believed that William needed to be eliminated from the world. In the midst of the chaos, Dantalion appeared and created a barrier of magic around the area. He urged William to order him to attack Father Crosby, but William refused to have any involvement with the underworld. Upon seeing Stree injured, Dantalion flew into a furious rage and launched a full-blown attack on Father Crosby. There, Isaac and William were frozen in shock as they watched the violent altercation unfold before their eyes. After a long and grueling fight, Father Crosby was finally defeated and left battered and bruised. Dantalion intended to kill him and desecrate his soul, but William intervened and ordered them to stop. Although Dantalion was initially reluctant, he ultimately complied with the orders, allowing Father Crosby to escape with his magic. Then Dantalion asked William to acknowledge him as his demon follower, but William was hesitant and skeptical. However, after attempting to reason with the events that had transpired, he indirectly acknowledged Dantalion and Stree as his followers. Meanwhile, Father Crosby went to the English church headquarters and warned of William's dangerous existence as the voter. The next morning, he failed to show up at the hostel after reportedly being hospitalized due to illness. In the classroom, William was in for a shock when he learned that Kevin, the new pastor replacing Pastor Crosby, was from a family of devout religious leaders. There, Kevin revealed that his older brother was supposed to take on the family's religious mantle, but he died in battle, leaving him with the responsibility. Although they were close at home, they had to maintain a certain distance at school. Later that night, chaos erupted in the dormitory when 3 new students caused trouble by playing pranks and breaking school property. William, who was responsible for maintaining order, didn't hesitate to reprimand the 3 students. Maria Mullen, the head of the dormitory, also arrived on the scene and scolded the juniors, warning them not to cause any further disturbance. But when Maria returned to her room, something peculiar happened. She performed a ritual related to her past relationship with her boyfriend, Camille. The following day, the 3 junior troublemakers were back at it again, poking around Maria's personal life and attempting to sneak into her room. Meanwhile, the rest of the dormitory students were busy practicing for an upcoming inter-dormitory boat race. Being the physically active type, William decided to stay behind and keep watch over the dormitory. As he stood guard, William caught sight of the same 3 students causing trouble yet again. Without hesitation, he sprang into action and swiftly dealt with the situation, expelling and punishing each of the 3 miscreants. But then Nathan, the son of the school principal, suddenly appeared in the dormitory, leaving William puzzled as to how he was able to be there instead of in the principal's dormitory. After Nathan hastily departed, William couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. He decided to check on Maria's room, fearing that the 3 students may have caused trouble there. Upon entering her room, he was stunned to find a magic circle drawn on the floor. Soon after, the day of the inter-dormitory boat race had finally arrived, and William found himself facing off against Nathan, who was part of the opposing team. As they competed, he couldn't help but glare at Nathan, while Dantalion even suspected him of being a demon. In the heat of the moment, their boats collided, and one of the oars was flung towards Maria. Miraculously, the oar narrowly missed hitting her thanks to a lucky bounce off a tree. After they made it to shore, Dantalion confronted Nathan and demanded that he confess to being a devil. There, William tried to calm him down, insisting that it was impossible for Nathan to be a demon because he was the principal's son. However, he couldn't ignore the ominous feeling he got from Nathan's dark aura. Soon after, Nathan eventually stormed off, wanting nothing to do with the group. Later on, the 3 junior troublemakers were up to no good yet again. They snuck into Maria's room and discovered a book of magic spells, proving that she was indeed a witch. This revelation jogged William's memory about the magic circle he had found in her room earlier. On the other hand, As Maria was heading to church, she encountered Kevin, who expressed his desire to pray. However, shortly after he rushed to meet William and informed about Maria's request, William felt uneasy and sensed that something was amiss. Suddenly, Sri appeared and urged William to flee with him into the forest. He revealed that the gates of hell had unexpectedly opened, and it was Maria who had unleashed them by drawing a massive circle to perform a ritual. Inside the magic circle, a monstrous being emerged and began rampaging, causing chaos and destruction. When William and Sri arrived at the scene, they were horrified by the colossal creature confronting Maria. But just as the monster was about to attack her, a mysterious figure appeared and defeated the beast. It was then revealed that the figure was Nathan, who confessed to her that he was, in fact, Kamio. Then Sri explained that Kamio was a noble demon and a potential successor to Lucifer's throne. Besides that, Kamio, one of the 72 demons who made a contract with King Solomon, and Maria had let each other go. There, she performed a demon summoning ritual to meet Kamio one last time before succumbing to her serious lung disease. She confessed to him that she wanted to become a devil to be with him, but he advised her to fight for her life. The following night, Maria stepped down as head of the hostel to seek treatment. Meanwhile, Nathan began to greet William and his friends regularly, even though he still had issues with Dantalion and Sri. Then Sri emphasized maintaining good manners, while Dantalion had a strong desire to fight Nathan. Later, the exam results were announced, and William, as expected, was ranked first. However, to his surprise, Dantalion had an intermediate rank of 50, despite being a devil who supposedly did not understand much about school subjects. Then William suspected Dantalion of cheating, but he denied it. Shortly after, the headmaster sought out Nathan, and they all went to William for help. Then they go to headmaster's room to enjoy a lavish meal. Suddenly, Nathan made a request. He explained that the water factory near the school was going to be demolished, and the school would receive donations from the foundation. However, there were mysterious singing sounds coming from the abandoned building, and if the foundation discovered them, the donations would be reduced. William initially declined to help, but the promise of a job after graduation and a connection with the foundation's chairman changed his mind. However, Dantalion and Sri refused to help, with he even warning William not to vote for Nathan in the next election. There, William remained indifferent to the matter. In the afternoon, William and Isaac searched for the source of the mysterious singing sounds, but found nothing. Meanwhile, Dantalion met a female demon named Lamia and then spoke with Astaroth, a high-level female demon who was taking a bath. There, he reported on the state of the election, but Astaroth warned him to be careful as there was someone dangerous near William. That night, William and Isaac fell asleep with onion necklaces on, hoping to ward off any ghosts. However, they were awakened by singing from the abandoned watermill. They encountered a dwarf figure who could only sing, and Sri revealed that it was a Kilmulis, a fairy that enjoys seances. The fairy had been living in the watermill and grinding wheat, but the mill was set to be destroyed along with their home. Suddenly, William came up with an idea to solve the problem and save the fairies from losing their home and livelihood. The following day, William felt relieved that the issues surrounding the water factory and the dwarves had been resolved. He had sent Kilmulis off to India to grind spices, which would provide a new home for the dwarves and save them from certain death. Soon after, Nathan appeared and offered to introduce the head of the foundation to William, but instead, he introduced him to Isaac. At that time, William was disappointed and felt betrayed by Nathan. This made him lose his faith in the devil once again. Meanwhile, Dantalion visited the church to investigate Kevin's background. He claimed to come from a regular religious family, but Dantalion was still suspicious and vowed to keep a close eye on him. A few days later, Dantalion and Sri were once again fighting over William. Suddenly, Kevin appeared, but he seemed indifferent to William's well-being. There, William was heartbroken and recalled how Kevin had always taken care of him in the past. Despite this, Isaac suggested that William invite Kevin to the upcoming family gathering at school. However, he was hesitant, thinking that Kevin, now a pastor, would reject him just like everyone else had done in the past. When the parents' meeting party arrived, William deliberately excluded Kevin, much to his disappointment. As a dormitory supervisor, he was on high alert, and shortly after, he ran into Swallow, who asked for permission to skip school. Swallow revealed that he did not want to attend the meeting because his father always pressured him to go to military school. This pressure intensified after Adrian Swallow, his father, narrowly escaped a deadly accident some time ago. William had also read about the incident in the newspapers and thought that Adrian was incredibly fortunate to have survived such a tragic event. Despite Swallow's pleas, William initially refused to let him skip school. But after much persuasion, William relented and allowed him to miss the meeting. Shortly after Swallow left, Adrian arrived and asked if William had seen his son. Then William informed him that he hadn't, and Adrian appeared disappointed in his son's absence. After that, William asked about Adrian's health following the accident, since he looked surprisingly healthy. Then he invited William to have tea with him later that evening. However, things took a strange turn when Kevin arrived, making Adrian uncomfortable. Soon after, they disappeared, leaving William puzzled and wondering what had happened to them. As William stood there, Dantalion whispered to Stree, both sensing that something was amiss with Beelzebub, one of the elite demons in hell who was also backing a presidential candidate. Then Stree warned that they should not interfere with the affairs of an elite demon like Beelzebub. Meanwhile, Kevin was in a room with an angel named Raquel. There he expressed concern that Solomon should not get into trouble with the demons and asked Raquel to watch over him in his stead. Even Raquel, who was kneeling in front of him, was ready to fulfill the order. Later on, Swallow approached William and informed him that his father was hosting a healing party, and many elite individuals would be in attendance. His father invited William to come to the party, and William, seeing it as an opportunity to network with the elite, decided to accept the invitation. There, Dantalion and Syrty grew increasingly suspicious of William's sudden invitation to the Swallow's residence. Despite their gut feeling, they accompanied him to the party filled with the crème de la crème of society, including world-class artists, high-ranking politicians, and top military officials. William was eager to mingle with them all and soak up the elite atmosphere. As William was lost in the crowd, a maid approached him, whom he mistook for Kevin. But to his surprise, it was Raquel in disguise. Then William later dozed off on the sofa and woke up to a startling discovery. Adrian, along with the global elites, were plotting something sinister. They were secretly planning to trigger a war and needed Solomon's soul to fulfill their mission. There, William was taken aback and quickly rose to his feet, only to be attacked by Adrian, who transformed into a demon. Fortunately, Dantalion intervened just in time to protect William from harm. He recognized the mastermind behind the attack as Eligos, a presidential candidate mentored by Beelzebub himself. Shortly after, Eligos warned Dantalion not to meddle in Beelzebub's affairs, but Dantalion was firm in his stance, protecting his master at all costs. It was revealed that Eligos was once one of the 72 demons who had made a pact with Solomon, but had defected to Beelzebub's side. At that time, Swallow was taken aback when he arrived and witnessed the altercation. Then Dantalion disclosed to Swallow that his father had died in an accident years ago. Eligos, disguised as Adrian, was manipulating the global elite to serve her twisted agenda. In an instant, she lunged at Swallow, but Stree intervened, preventing Dantalion from interfering. They could not intervene in Swallow's affairs with Eligos. There, Dantalion lost control and pressured William to appoint him as president, taking the risk of dealing with other demonic cases. However, William was indecisive, and in the midst of the chaos, Raquel arrived with holy water and defeated Eligos, driving her out of the premises. The following day, Swallow seemed to have completely recovered from whatever was bothering him and returned to work as a hostile supervisor. Meanwhile, William headed to church to confront Kevin and sort things out between them. He was curious as to why Kevin had been avoiding him, and even stated that Kevin no longer needed to work for him. He believed that Kevin was staying away because he had run out of money. However, Kevin clarified that he had never intended to leave William's employment. In fact, Kevin had been making bets on school children and even on William himself. Upon learning about Kevin's gambling, William was irritated and left the conversation grumbling to himself. In that moment, Kevin's appearance suddenly transformed into that of an angel, complete with white wings. Raquel then introduced him as Cecilon, one of the top angels. He vowed to protect Solomon from falling into the devil's hands. Meanwhile, Stree and Dantalion were busy rehearsing for a theater play based on the story of Homelet. There, William was impressed by their enthusiasm and decided to become a theater director instead of an actor. He was still grappling with the events surrounding the infernal presidential election. While wandering down the corridor, William bumped into Kevin, who wanted to have a word with him. Meanwhile, Dantalion was confronted by a demoness who warned him about the annual Sabbath happening later that night. Although he didn't care much for the party, he was informed that all interim presidential candidates were required to attend. Meanwhile, William was still refining the play that he and Kevin had written together, but he remained unsure about the script despite his efforts. However, Kevin was more interested in discussing gambling, which annoyed William. Unbeknownst to him, Kevin had secretly placed an angelic magic circle on his back. Later that evening, Swallow informed William that two students, Dantalion and Stree, had been granted permission to leave the dormitory that night, claiming they needed to return home. Then, William immediately suspected that they were heading to the hellish party, which only added to his confusion and frustration. After some time, Kevin was praying in church when the angel Michael suddenly appeared to him. He warned Kevin that Solomon was getting closer to the devil and berated him for being a failed angel. In fact, Kevin, or Cecilon, had even lost one of his wings due to a previous mission failure related to Solomon. Then Michael threatened that if Cecilon failed again, he would be cast into hell. After that, Michael departed, intending to take matters into his own hands in regards to Solomon. Days passed, and Isaac found himself struggling with the upcoming exam, while William was nonchalantly sipping tea, confident in his ability to ace the test as usual. Suddenly, a student named Elliot Eden arrived, disguised as Michael. Although Isaac recognized him and praised his intelligence, William was skeptical and didn't seem to know him. Eden then challenged William to a competition, vowing to outscore him and become the top student in the class. Hearing that, William was motivated by the challenge and began to study hard. Day by day, William was a determined student who studied day and night, even during meals with his peers, in order to outdo his rival, Eden. However, during the last exam, his hard work was in vain when Eden received a perfect score and William's grades decreased. He was furious and decided to study even harder, neglecting all other aspects of his life just to beat Eden. During the next exam, while William was working diligently on the questions, Eden used his magical powers to transfer answers written on other students' desks onto William's. Then he sat back and relaxed while William panicked and tried to convince the teacher that he wasn't cheating. Unfortunately for William, the evidence was right in front of him, and he was dragged off to the disciplinary room to await his trial. In the disciplinary room, William sat frustrated and feeling unjustly accused of cheating. Suddenly, Eden appeared and engaged him in a bizarre conversation about justice and wisdom. He posed hypothetical questions about saving people from falling into the abyss and choosing between hell and God's kingdom. At that moment, William was perplexed by Eden's unusual behavior and the odd questions. However, their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Pastor Kevin, who asked Eden to leave. Then Eden left, apologizing for his behavior. Soon after, William found himself in school court, facing accusations of cheating. He vehemently denied the charges. But before he could defend himself further, the room transformed into a different dimension, and Eden revealed himself as Michael, the Archangel. Suddenly, Michael attacked William, intent on killing him to prevent him from falling into hell. Stree appeared and fought him to protect William. Meanwhile, Dantalion tried to break through the powerful crystals that protected the dimension to save William. In this strange dimension, Michael and Stree argued about Lucifer's fall from heaven. Then Michael claimed that he had brought down Lucifer, who had betrayed him and fought with him to the last drop of blood. Michael won the battle and cast Lucifer out of heaven, causing him to fall into hell. Not long after, Dantalion broke through the powerful crystals and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with Michael. To everyone's surprise, Dantalion managed to hold his own against the Archangel, and even beat him mercilessly. However, Pastor Kevin intervened and warned him not to kill Michael, as it would have dire consequences for William. Meanwhile, Michael, realizing that he had lost the battle, fled the dimension, causing it to crumble and disappear. Shortly after, William returned to court, still insisting on his innocence. Fortunately, 2 students came forward and admitted to writing the answers on their desks, but they were unable to explain how they ended up on William's desk. This testimony cleared him of all charges, and he was acquitted. Shortly thereafter, Astaroth and the others grew concerned about the possibility of Solomon never waking up from his slumber. They feared that the angels in heaven might try to hunt down William, who carried his soul, and turn him into their puppet, causing his personality to vanish. In order to keep him safe, Dantalion and his comrades decided to evacuate William to hell. Meanwhile, Michael, whose plans had been disrupted by the interference of the devils, sent his favorite warrior, John Dark, to carry out his orders. Astaroth, who was taking a bath, realized that the angels might try to extract Solomon's soul from William, and came up with a plan to protect him. Soon after, William went to Kevin's room looking for him, but when he couldn't find him, he stumbled upon a mysterious box containing Solomon's ring, which belonged to his father. He was curious about its presence there and took it, but was interrupted by Kevin's arrival. When William asked for help, Kevin mistook it for a request for money and sent him away. As he was leaving, Kevin accidentally broke a glass and injured his hand, but urged him to leave quickly. Not long after William left, Kevin was confronted by Michael, who revealed that he knew Kevin had deliberately let William have Solomon's ring. Then, Michael flew into a rage and threatened Kevin, saying that he must succeed in extracting Solomon's soul or face the destruction of his wings. At that time, Kevin was forced to remember the past when he had tortured Solomon, who refused to kill the 72 demons he was bound to by contract. Instead of destroying the demons, Solomon had transformed and sealed them into pillars, which had resulted in Kevin being tormented. Meanwhile, William was walking alone at night when he encountered Dantalion and other demons who warned him of the danger and suggested they return to hell. Ignoring them, he returned to his room and fell asleep. In the meantime, Dantalion and his gang were confronted by John, a holy angel who engaged them in a fierce battle. The demons summoned hundreds of low-class devils to stop her, and the battle was brutal and epic. Later, Kevin went to William's room while he was sleeping, intending to extract Solomon's soul. However, his memories of the good times he had shared with William since childhood made him hesitate. Afterward, Regel approached Kevin, urging him to gather his strength and carry out the extraction or else they would all face destruction. Suddenly, Jill appeared, forcing him to confront the demon while leaving Kevin bewildered. Outside the dormitory, Jill and Regel engaged in a fierce battle, during which Jill expressed his contempt for angels who preached holiness but indulged in wickedness. Despite his best efforts, Regel was defeated. Shortly after, Kevin arrived and implored Jill to cease the violence, promising not to proceed with the extraction if Regel's life was spared. However, Jill persisted with his assault until Dantalion intervened and put an end to the conflict. Later, Kevin reported to Michael, informing him that he had abandoned the mission to rescue Regel. Michael, who had previously warned Kevin about the dire consequences of failure, refused to accept his reasoning. At that moment, Michael appeared to be in agony, struggling to maintain his composure. Alarmed, Kevin inquired about Michael's condition, but he evaded the question and instead urged Kevin to leave immediately. The next day, excitement filled the air as students prepared for the festival where the winner would receive extra points and reap the rewards of higher sales. William eagerly joined in, but the following day, while his peers set up successful booths and shops, he struggled to come up with ideas and lacked the salesmanship to compete. Desperate for a solution, William hatched a scheme. He flattered Stree and enlisted his help, praising his cool cosplay and requesting his assistance. Then William approached Dantalion, showering him with compliments before asking for his aid. Lastly, he convinced Isaac to give Dantalion all of his family's high-quality tea, promising to tutor him until he became super smart in return. With his newfound resources, William opened a cafe stand, employing Isaac as the tea brewer and Stree and Dantalion as waiters. To his delight, the cafe was a resounding success, attracting many customers and generating high sales. Meanwhile, Baphomet met Leonard, Stree's disguised servant, and they began a cooking competition to prove who was the better chef. The event drew a large crowd, with Dantalion and the others serving as judges. The dishes were so delicious that the judges were captivated by the taste. Ultimately, Baphomet was declared the winner, and William invited both chefs to cook at his cafe. The cafe quickly became popular, and William was confident he would win the cultural festival. However, to his surprise, Nathan won, even though no one knew what booth he had opened. Meanwhile, the angels met to discuss their next strategy to obtain Solomon's soul. Then Michael sought the help of Cecilon. While in hell, the elite demons convened and decided to take William to hell to protect him from heaven. There, Astaroth was assigned the task of bringing him to them. At the school, Astaroth suddenly appeared and whisked William away to another dimension where an important meeting was taking place. The gathering included Stree, Kamio, the 4 elite demons, and other noble demons. However, William's haughty demeanor angered the devils present during the temporary king election. They tried to attack him, but luckily, Dantalion came to his rescue just in time. During the commotion, Solomon's wisdom ring slipped from William's clothes, causing the demons to recognize it as the ring that Solomon used to enslave them. The demons became determined to end Solomon's control over them and gain power. However, things took a drastic turn when William put on the ring, causing Solomon's soul to take over his body. This unexpected turn of events didn't go unnoticed as Michael and Kevin in heaven sensed the presence of Solomon's soul in William's body. As the demons in the meeting attempted to attack William, Solomon was in hell easily fighting off hordes of demons with his God-blessed power. Then he proceeded to greet each of his former demon comrades who had now become pillars. It was during this time that Dantalion made a desperate attempt to take the ring from William's hand, but he failed. To add to the shock, Solomon didn't even recognize him. Solomon, who had no memory of Dantalion, demanded that he not interfere in his battle against Balbrith and the other demons. At that time, Dantalion was powerless against Solomon's strength and was overpowered. It was then that Solomon's past memories started to resurface. Once the son of King David, Solomon was considered a sinful child and was imprisoned by his own father. To gain power, he summoned demons and brought them under his control. Over time, Solomon and the demons became close friends. Despite his strength, Solomon chose to live peacefully with his demon friends instead of taking up arms against his father. This decision puzzled Dantalion. Meanwhile, Solomon's father, King David, had sent an army to kill him, but Solomon destroyed the army and took over the kingdom of Israel. However, David refused to acknowledge him as his son and cursed him. This deeply saddened Solomon, and he eventually asked Dantalion to end his life. In the present, Dantalion intervened and saved Balberith from being crushed. He also urged William to remember his true self and break free from Solomon's control. On the other hand, Lucifer awakened from his slumber and had a meeting with Solomon. He allowed Dantalion to remove the ring from William, freeing him from Solomon's grip. With the awakening of Lucifer, the election for the ruler of Hell was temporarily halted, and William was sent back to the human world. However, he was confused when he realized that no one except him and Kevin remembered the previous incident. On his way out from visiting Kevin at the church, Solomon's ring slipped from William's hand and was taken by Dantalion. He smiled and asked William to take good care of him. And the anime ends. The moral lesson of this anime is that power and strength are not just physical attributes, but also the ability to make the right decisions and act with integrity and compassion towards others.